Can you just repeat this? What is your attitude towards Russian aggression on Ukraine, and what consequences, from your point of view, this war may have on the Western Balkans and Montenegro? Specifically, what requirements may the US and the Western partners make upon Montenegro?
Well, first, I'm horrified to see how Russia is invading Ukraine in the way that it is today. We in the US often talk about further Russian aggression against Ukraine because, of course, in 2014, we saw what Russia did in Crimea and then starting the violence in the Donbass. And today, to see this whole-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine and having the country be devastated in the way that it is very upsetting. And I would say the only thing that inspires me is the incredible cohesion and unity we have seen in the NATO alliance among our allies, of which Montenegro is a valued one, and also the very real cooperation with our partners in the European Union on making sure that we are putting a price on Russia for this unprovoked and unjustified attack on Ukraine. So we very much applaud the wonderful cooperation we have had with Montenegro in meeting this challenge, whether it is through the actions NATO has taken in terms of strengthening NATO's eastern flank, whether it is Montenegro joining the tough EU sanctions, providing humanitarian and security assistance, and closing your airspace to Russian aircraft. So there are many things Montenegro is doing that is helping all of us make clear how unacceptable Russia's invasion is, and also exacting a price on Russia for that unacceptable behavior.
So what are your specifically fears concerning the future of Western Balkans and Montenegro? And what may be your future requirements when it comes to us?
Well, I would say that what we're seeing today is not just an attack on Ukraine, but it's on the entire system of international security that has largely kept the peace in Europe since the end of World War II. And you in Montenegro have a deep stake in this conflict because it isn't just about Ukraine's security. I think this invasion is changing everything, and it is shaking the European security architecture that you sought to join through your membership in NATO. And I do believe that's why it's galvanized all of us to come together in the extraordinary way we have to make clear how much we condemn Russia's invasion and the extent to which we demand that Russia withdraw its forces from Ukraine. So I think our cohesion in standing up to Russia's war of choice and to making clear that you in Montenegro are not going to let Russia hold back your progress is part of the response that we together are engaged in.
Montenegro has already been put on the list of enemy states of Russia. What can Montenegro, what kind of support can it expect from the US and the Western partners in this regard?
Well, the fact that Montenegro is a NATO member and the fact that President Biden and Secretary Blinken have been so clear in saying that the United States, together with his allies, is committed to defending every inch of NATO territory means that you have an ironclad security guarantee. So I would say that to begin with, but then your comment about Russia's designation of Montenegro as an enemy, I just want to remind us and your viewers of the vote that took place last week in the UN General Assembly, where we had 141 countries vote to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine and to demand that Putin withdraw his forces. There were only 5 countries in the UN General Assembly that voted against that resolution. And I applaud Montenegro standing with the 141, but I also think every citizen of Montenegro can feel proud that in that court of world opinion, Montenegro was with the 141.
Besides political and security threats, Montenegro is endangered in economic terms since it relies heavily on tourism, namely the high percentage of tourists coming directly from Russia and Ukraine. Can Montenegro count on some type of financial support in this regard in future?
So clearly, ending the war in Ukraine is going to be the best outcome if you want to see tourists returning to Montenegro. And that is something we are working on together. And one of the ways we are trying to have Russia change course is by making clear to Russia the very heavy price it is paying for this aggression. And we together, Americans and Europeans, have put in place a quite extraordinary set of sanctions and export controls on Russia because of its invasion of Ukraine. Those are sanctions against Russian financial institutions, sanctions against Putin himself and the oligarchs around him, export controls on high-tech items that, for example, are important for Russia's defense industry. As you know, there is a list of measures we have put in place in response. And the impact this is having on Russia's economy is profound. We've seen the ruble fall dramatically, and the hope is that by our standing strong and making clear the price Russia will pay, that this will influence President Putin's calculation. There will be blowback on all of us. There's going to be blowback on the United States. There's going to be blowback on Montenegro. But what is holding us together on this is the belief in the underlying principles that we are standing up for. So yes, there will be some economic pain, but we are together in defending this order that will keep Americans and Montenegrins safe going forward.
European integration of Western Balkans is key priority. That's what State Department announced in a statement for Voice of America. How do you intend to speed up integration of countries which are usually described as hybrid regimes? Does this mean, as some people claim, that you will ignore corrupt background of influential officials who claim to be on your side in this particular moment?
Well, first, let me say that the United States very much supports Montenegro's continuing Euro-Atlantic integration, and the United States was very proud to welcome Montenegro as a NATO member, and we are extremely supportive of Montenegro's accession to the European Union. So the United States' goal of a Europe that is whole, free, and at peace remains a very key aim of US foreign policy. Now, to your question about whether in pursuing that goal, we will not pay as much attention to corruption or other ills, no. I mean, when we talk about a Europe that's whole, free, and at peace, democracy is at the foundation of that. And as you know, President Biden hosted a summit for democracy. And the purpose of that summit was not just about the United States promoting democracy around the world. It was the United States saying, all of us need to create stronger democracies, and that includes the United States. So we see democracy not as a destination, but as an ongoing process where each of us needs to do our part to build stronger democracies. And in some countries, the real challenge is one of corruption. In others, it has to do with reform of the judiciary. We all have our own challenges, but that's another aspect that keeps us together, which is encouraging each other to strengthen our democracies and tackle those pernicious ills, of which corruption is one.